Welcome back to the home studio and welcome to episode number 80 of the Stevie Richards Show. I'm very excited about this episode. Always excited to do episodes with my co-host. We'll get to him in just a second, but especially excited because we continue to talk about one of my favorite wrestlers ever, Roddy Piper. And actually, even better news, selfishly for me, is James has informed me we have another part for Roddy Piper. We're not done yet. We're just getting started. Speaking of just getting started, that's a bad segue, but here's my co-host, James Romero.
Hey, remember, you do not throw rocks at a man with a machine gun. As Roddy Piper would say. I was looking through the entire documentary for more questions, and there was enough that came up that we're going to bring up Roddy Piper again for a third part, and that will include They Live. It will include, was Roddy Piper the greatest wrestler to never be world champion? That kind of thing as well. But we've got so much packed into this episode as well. Originally titled episode 73 because this was meant to air nearly 2 months ago. So there you go. We've actually done 8 episodes, including a bonus episode in between there because just things kept cropping up that we felt we couldn't ignore, would you believe?
I can believe that. Actually, it's 8.5. The one episode was actually a 0.5 episode. I don't know how it's going to turn out when we say, welcome to episode 100.5. The 100.5 might stand out. Who knows?
It's almost like Captain Kirk's star dates, something whatever, and it's got decimal points and impossible numbers.
You're speaking my language now. There you go. I'm in a better mood already. Yeah.
Right then, I'll do the intro. What do I do the intro with? I've got channels. There's one. Stevie's got many channels as well.
Yours. I'm going to take yours. James Romero has the James Romero channel. The creative output of just how we renamed this show, the Stevie Richards Show, but it's an excellent channel on news, commentary. James gives his take on a lot of things and definitely growing, as James would say, strength to strength. Also, List Mania Wrestling, which is awesome. What's the most recent video or an upcoming video on that? Okay, that's a bad question.
I'll tell you what the next one is wrestlers who don't like John Cena. That is what it's going to be. And then afterwards, we have something regarding Bret Hart. And also, we've got a Royal Rumble special video as well that I've written, not recorded yet, which if I get time, I'm going to record on Friday. And because I was good enough to procure pretty much all of the B-roll for it, that may well end up being the next one released as well, just to coincide with the Royal Rumble coming up as well. But because Stevie was good enough to do plugs for me, I'll do his. Stevie Richards Fitness, he's done a couple of documentaries, departures almost, from the usual stuff he's doing on the fitness channel. They've done a lot better, markedly better as well, so I guess Stevie's going to be continuing down that route as well of talking about the Bowflex was the one that you sent me last.
Yeah, the first one was the rise and fall of P90X and Beachbody, then the Bowflex. Later this afternoon, as we record this on Wednesday morning, is going to be about the Total Gym. Then we're going to get into the Lyle Alzado steroid stuff, the steroid era in Major League Baseball. And of course, we can't talk about that without talking about the WWF steroid scandal, which might be a collaboration between the Stevie Richards Show and Stevie Richards Fitness.
As well as WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation, because there's so much. Well, you need to look into the Lou Ferrigno thing.
Ferrigno?
Yeah. The whole Hulk? He was meant to be part of it. He actually agreed to be part of it. And then at some point they told him he couldn't be on steroids. Then all of a sudden he had an injury and couldn't make it.
Wow. People, speaking of WBF, you know what the major, because we get people to come over from this and other wrestling stuff. There was like 7 people that wanted me to do a documentary or a retrospect on IcoPro. And all I can think about is the Bret Hart. I got to find the YouTube video where he's like, man, he used to deliver that garbage to my door and I just used to give it to my neighbors. Remember that?
I do. Bruce Prichard said it tasted awful. Some of the names for him, one of them, like, what are these products? And there were like dozens of them. One of them was called Wind. One of them was called Thermic Force, which is a better name. And I'm gonna have a Thermic Force dose and a Wind chaser or whatever it is. But it was kind of ahead of its time, IcoPro, as far as I can tell. As far as like it's all crap for the most part. But the idea of all these different chemicals, I guess, and like the different things they do and packaging them, decently, I guess, as to what they actually do for you. And they were pretty ahead of its time. And if you use some B-roll, the WWF, one of the shows, whether it's Superstars Wrestling Challenge or whatever it is, actually has the creator of Ico Pro with all these products in front of him. But there are dozens. You need to find that B-roll to include.
Oh, wow. I got to find that. You know, there's 2 words in the supplement industry, because I'm going to do one definitely on supplements, because, man, if people realized that most of these companies, not most, but a good proportionate amount of them are literally just in somebody's kitchen, mixing it up, putting it in there. And you know what they call that? And here's the 2 words that probably get them out of the most amount of trouble and also get past all the regulations: proprietary blend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a proprietary blend here, but Vince had his own proprietary blend in many different ways. I wonder which computer brain created Ico Pro. What do you think?
The worst one. Probably. It was a nice idea, but once again, he was sinking money into the worst stuff at that time. Like, he was trying to be a boxing promoter, World Bodybuilding Federation, Ico Pro. Later on, he'd buy a hotel.
Yeah, but think about this. I think what you said in the beginning of that, and this also definitely translates over to the XFL. Vince was far ahead of his time, almost to a fault, because now NFL has that Sky Cam and all the things that XFL did in the beginning. If you watch NFL today, it was birthed by Vince, whoever else created those unique things in the XFL.
To continue with the plugs, of course, Stevie Richards Cameo, once again, using my own term, I guess, strength to strength. We did something on Ric Flair's Cameo, and as a response, Stevie didn't even put the link in the comments. And in fairness, I didn't tell him to. I ended up doing it in the end, and Stevie texted me, went, yeah, I've got another 20 orders overnight. I'm 10 in, got another 5 to do later, and then some more.
I got 5 to do after we record
Wonderful.
This morning. So thank you very much. And that's the everything I do with this stuff is fun. But man, doing those cameos and getting to talk to people, and surprisingly, you know, maybe 10 or 15% of the cameo requests are about wrestling. It's mostly fitness or trying to get in shape or advice about what we do here and everything, like business-wise and things like that. I don't give any of James' secrets away, but I give mine away.
Fair enough.
If you watch the behind-the-scenes video where it's people say, I've never, ever been more excited at a video ever.
You should watch that as well. If you've not watched that, you do need to watch that. If you want to see Stevie almost uncontrollably enthusiastic about something, it is about technology, let me tell you. And of course, the main thing we plug on this show every single week is the Stevie Richards Patreon. We've just watched adorable Adrian Adonis versus Roddy Piper WrestleMania 3. That'll be coming out this Monday. And was this a solo one for you that came out this Monday, just gone then?
No, it was the week before. Was the Sergeant Slaughter one. It was in Washington, D.C., I think February 9th. It was right around President's Day. Oh, no, you've already compartmentalized your trauma because we watched Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch.
Oh, my goodness me. I forgot.
Would you like to watch it again?
It's coming back up next Monday. I'm looking forward to it.
A rematch?
They're rematching it, would you believe, in Belfast, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I'm rubbing my hands over what they're going to cook up. It's almost like they booked it for us. We like to be proud of ourselves and think they did, but I think that, you know what, Maxine Dupree, I feel bad because they did throw her in the deep end, and I should have put that context during our segment about that. And you can tell, but she's trying, man. She is definitely, I hope she improves more and more. But man, to take everything away that kind of made her a fun, like innocent character with Alpha Academy and make her into a shooter in like 3 days flat, I don't know about that. Hey, they're trying to do Kurt Angle with her. I mean, there was a bit in the match that you'll remember, unless you put it out of your head, where she sort of does the firing up, scream. And it's just like, I'm not buying that. That's not you. Like, your appearance and the character you're trying to portray is an entire disconnect.
Do you buy more than the ankle lock?
I wouldn't buy that if it was free. That's the worst ankle lock I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, then, well, let's see.
Stop being negative. Let's have some fun.
Oh, we're going to as well, in fact. And we're going to get into Roddy Piper Part 2. And once again, I think I mentioned this on Part 1. Something I don't think you knew at the time, but you do now. Roddy Piper, when he went to the WWF in very early 1984, I think. I don't think it was December 83. I think he debuted January 84. Anyway, he found his first success in Los Angeles with the LaBelles. You know, fighting Chavo Guerrero Sr., of course, and, you know, La Cucaracha on the bagpipes and stuff like that, causing riots and basically being right mean to those Hispanic types in Los Angeles, including me, I guess, in that sense. But it was great. It was great television if they bothered to ever actually record any of those shows, which the LaBelles didn't. But the second place he really became a star was the Portland territory. And Don Owens, who was the longtime owner of Pacific Northwest Wrestling, basically, Roddy thought of him as a father figure, pretty much. He really liked him. Worked with Portland when it was almost dying, I guess, after he retired, which people don't really realise as well, the first time. So after he left WrestleMania, after WrestleMania 3, he was non-screen presence in the Portland territory for a while he was doing the B movies and some of the a couple of the A movies as well, I guess. When he went to the WWF, absolutely steadfastly refused to work in the Portland area because he refused to, I guess, do any damage to his former mentor, former father figure. And that kind of spoke volumes, I guess, to a lot of people, because I suppose he was one of the few people in the pro wrestling industry at that time who had that level of integrity. Is that something that rings true with you in your interactions with him?
Well, I didn't know that at all, but you get the impression that the guy kind of lives by honor and lives by people's word. And in a business like wrestling, you don't get a whole lot of either of those things. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know Roddy. I only met him a handful of times, spoke with him. But of course, you know, he makes an impression anytime you talk to him. And the wrestling business actually fosters the exact opposite. You kind of take the path of least resistance in a lot of ways. And if he refused right off the bat with WWF in 84, correct, when he first went in there, that he was
a full-timer, I should say. He did make a few appearances in the late 70s.
But I mean, as a full-timer, it's even more of a, clap for Roddy, because guess what? Vince was taking over all the territories anyway. So he would have been much easier, and probably Don Owen would have been like, well, whatever happens. You got to make your money, feed your family, all that stuff. But he stood on that honor, integrity, and loyalty. Like you said, he might have been a little weird or strange or whatever, but he apparently was fiercely loyal when it came to that. And also what I knew about Roddy is if you wronged him, you were pretty much done forever as well.
With that being said, I asked you earlier today, could you come up with a list of pro wrestlers who kind of match Roddy Piper's, I guess for a lack of a better word, integrity or loyalty, whatever it might be, in the wrestling business, where they would turn down money, turn down opportunities if they felt it would compromise their values in any way? And you said just before we recorded, boy, is that going to be a short list. But you have a list.
It is, but there's certain elements and certain situations where I would kind of put throughout the years, most, if not all, of the ECW roster, the ECW originals, and even some people that came from other places, like even a Shane Douglas, even though he left, went to WWE and then came back for a while, and then he ended up in WCW. But when Shane was there, he was fiercely loyal to the company. So you had Shane, and by the way, these are people that held multiple positions within ECW. Shane was a promoter out in Pittsburgh, did office work. Bubba as well did promotion as well as being an on-air talent. Taz and Perry ran the school. Taz did a lot of the merchandise and designs and T-shirts. Dreamer, and that's the name I want to focus on in a second, also had all the merchandise in his parents' house. We talked about the ring truck, buying the ring truck, and really just staying with staying with ECW all the way to the end when WWE basically had Paul and the company was shut down. There's only one person that comes to my mind about brand, promotion, promoter, just anything as far as, the boys and the roster, loyalty, and that would be Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer's proved time and time again that he was and still is in a lot of ways the heart, the soul, and the spirit of ECW. To this day, when you hear ECW, you usually think of Dreamer first anyway, and that's well earned. And there's a lot of opportunity for Dreamer when he was spending money, buying ring trucks, doing all that stuff, and not making money at the same time. I think they offered him a bunch of money to go to WCW at one time. He turned that down. I'm sure he could have went to WWE a little bit earlier. He didn't do it. He was very loyal to ECW, very loyal to Paul, very loyal to the roster, and especially very loyal to the fan base. And that's about the only name from personal experience outside of what you're telling me about Piper that I know for a fact. Dreamer's right at the tippy top of that list.
I think you could argue, some people who homestead promotions, but like Undertaker wouldn't be that guy because he's got no reason to compromise his morals or anything like that, because basically he's one of the top stars. He's going to get whatever he wants. I was thinking Bret, because he willingly was going to take less than 50 cents on the dollar before the Montreal screw job, and he was pretty much ousted anyway. I think he was fiercely loyal to that company.
Could I push back a little bit on that?
Yes.
I think Bret also, it might have been brand loyalty, promotion loyalty, but at the same time, he's told that story. It's been a tumultuous thing, kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde relationship with Vince throughout the years. He thought the company was going to fire him, flew his family into Saskatoon when he won. So there's some distrust from the very beginning with Bret and Vince and the company. I believe Bret, he's loyal to his fan base in WWF at the time, but I think he's most loyal to his brand, his integrity, and he really did believe he was a Canadian hero. That's what I feel. And he had I think he said in the interviews, he had an idea that WCW was going to screw everything up. He knew before he even left. Am I off base with that?
Oh, God, yeah.
I am off base?
No, you're absolutely right. He never wanted to go there.
Yeah, but Vince kind of pushed it. He did the Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania to when Hogan did it to Bret. Vince did, no, you stay in WWF. You stay, and pushed him to WCW.
I've got another example for you, and other people have done this, and I'm going to go on the complete opposite and say someone like Stephanie Vaquer has done the opposite, is you have got bookings already in the pipeline, weeks or maybe months ahead. And you get the call from WWE, WWF to come in the next week, right? For example. I'm not throwing Matt Cardona under the bus here because he had bookings like 6 months in advance. And obviously, you could really screw up your career. That's not the same thing, I think. William Regal, I believe I'm right in saying he got an offer from WCW and Bill Watts. If this is the story I'm right in thinking of. And they said, we're thinking of bringing you in on this date. And he said, I'm sorry, I have given my word to Otto Vans or whoever it might have been, or Brian Dixon, whoever it was, and said, I have to honour these dates. I've shook the hand and I promised I'd be there and I'm advertised. So whoever it was on the phone, Bill Watts, let's say, okay, let me think about it. Hung up or thought about it for a minute and said, do you know what? You've definitely got the job now because I appreciate how loyal, you're a man of your word. And that kind of integrity to keep your bookings and keep your word in that sense can work for you as well. But I thought that was a good example of somebody who was willing to put it all on the line and risk it all so they could sleep at night. Harley Race was another one as well, but I'll tell that story in a minute.
No, I was going to say that, no surprise. We've already talked about Regal a few different times. I have no doubt that people like Fit Finlay would also have echoed that. They come from the same school of thought, same culture, or Robbie Brookside. It seems like the people in that world of sport, in that area, in your area of the world, they take it very seriously. They take that handshake, the word, the agreement that you're going to do, and we're over here. And I was guilty of going to WCW from ECW with no notice at all. So I'm on the other end of that spectrum and can be accused of being disloyal to ECW. But also, then people say,
he was not loyal to you. He wasn't paying you. He tried to get you to sign a blank contract.
I know, but I'm saying like the other part of it is it's obviously in retrospect, it's a business decision. And at times I should have treated it more like a business. And then at times I should have been a little bit more personal as far as the interactions like that. It's not a beat up. I'm just giving you the inverse of all that stuff. But what I did is way more normal. You just said Stephanie Vaquer did that. Lots of people do that in wrestling all the time. These are some also the most memorable moments when these happen, like Luger showing up as he's still showing up on a taped match, I think with Davey Boy Smith teaming up, correct?
Oh.
They were like the Allied powers or something, and then he jumped for
Oh
the
yeah,
first
Luke, yeah,
episode
Luger
of
and Davey, but Luger was about to turn heel. The story goes,
but he already went to WCW and
yeah,
burned that bridge at the time. It's happened a lot more, especially when you had Bischoff trying to get people for the live Nitro who already put 3 to 4 matches in the can for a tape draw or tape, secondary shows.
I've got one more example. Harley Race, Starrcade '83, when he was going to lose the NWA title to Ric Flair, cage match. In fact, Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine, of course, was on the undercard of that same show, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But Harley Race, apparently beforehand, was flown out by Vince McMahon and was offered $250,000 in 1983, which is like $900 today, to break Ric's leg, whatever it might be. Just undercut. In fact, it wasn't even that. Don't show up. That's what it was. Do not show up to the event. You don't even have to commit a violent criminal act for it. Just don't show up. And Harley's explanation is, or he said was, they were in a bathroom somewhere. There was a mirror, and he said, "What do you see in the mirror?" And essentially Harley's explanation was, that's the person I have to look at in the face every single day, and I couldn't do that if I took your money and screwed over the NWA. And he could have been, the equivalent today of nearly a millionaire overnight if he had nothing in the bank, for example. And he turned it down. That's integrity.
It is. I mean, it's very rare. The list is longer than I thought now that we're talking about it and everything. But yeah, there's stuff here. But here's the thing. It doesn't always work out. It hardly ever works out the way it would for William Regal back then with Bill Watts, where it's kind of a test in a way, to see if you're going to do it deep down. Maybe not consciously, but let's see this. And Regal stood on honor, stood on loyalty, stood on the handshake, and ended up benefiting him. But I'm telling you right now, the other 99%, it doesn't really benefit you a whole lot. There's a story about Sid, too. I saw a shoot interview where he talked about he flew up there. Vince wanted him. Vince was going to give him Hogan's spot. That's what he said he wanted. Vince said, it's yours. He could have signed with WCW for a ton of money, went up there for opportunity, and he said that he regrets doing it, which I watched Sid's run, that Shawn Michaels match at the Garden, the other stuff he's done. How could he? I understand loyalty in a way that he wanted to stay in WCW and they treated him better, he said, but he had a heck of a run in WWF at the time. He's not satisfied with that.
We had like 3 separate ones.
But he got taken care. He wasn't on Heat or Velocity.
No, it's not right. No, he wasn't hosting Livewire or whatever it might have been in like '96. We'll move on because we mentioned Starrcade and Harley Race. So anyway, it was on the undercard, Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine, the dog collar chain match. This is definitely going to be, I think, a future watch along for the Patreon, if anybody's interested, that we'll do in the nearish future. We'll let you know in advance, of course. What do you remember of that match? Because it's just one of those ones where it features in so many retrospectives, and it's so lauded as one of like the pivotal, almost hardcore matches before there was the term hardcore for that kind of brutality in a pro wrestling match. Roddy Piper's ear would get bust open, eardrum would get burst as well in this match.
Yeah, they were laying it in, that's for sure. Even watching it before I really got into the business, I knew there was something different about this match, watching it years later, obviously. But yeah, I mean, when I watched the Valentine, like just pummeling the ear, I'm like, he's really hitting him. They're laying it in. I'm sure Piper said, lay it in and make it look real. Your notes, though, I didn't know that this was not a one-off match or anything like that. They had a ton of them. So this could have been a cumulative effect of constantly getting like hit for real in the ear or around the head area with that chain. And they had tape fists, lumberjack strap matches, no DQ, cage matches leading up to the pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. That's insane. But that's what they had to do. They were trying to draw houses, and these guys were taking it all around the loop.
What's funny is that Piper, just before he went to the WWF, he nipped to like the Maritimes or something for like a few dates, and he did a dog collar match there as well. There's no stopping the dude. That's got to take a toll on you, surely, because I'll give this as an example. in the 90s, people think, oh, well, the first proper pay-per-view ladder match was, of course it was on pay-per-view, Razor and Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 10. But they were doing ladder matches in the run-up. And then, like, the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs were doing cage matches every night at some point, and it was killing them all. Same with the Hardy Boys and whoever else. They were doing ladder matches, like, on house shows every single night. Have you ever... Do you notice that it completely wears wrestlers down incredibly quickly doing these types of intense gimmick matches, for a lack of a better term?
Yeah, it can definitely do that. I don't know if it's even a term to say what speed or intensity. I know Piper and Valentine were probably working like the cameras were everywhere and every night was a pay-per-view. And that's just what we knew. Even something like ECW when we were leading up to, say, the three-way dance at the first pay-per-view, Barely Legal. I was wrestling Funk in singles. We had tag matches against, me and Raven against Dreamer and Funk. Then there was three ways with Sandman, myself, and Raven on the house shows. And looking back, and some of those matches are on ECW Unreleased Volume 3. We were just going. We didn't know any better. It's almost like maybe Piper and Valentine at a younger age in '83, still not babies or anything, but they don't know the ramifications. They just know we're going to be physical. We're going to be recovered by tomorrow night, at least for the most part. And we don't know what this is going to look like 10, 20, 30 years from now. Like every era of wrestling, we talk about it with the Kyle Fletchers and all the other stuff and some of the dangerous spots. Nobody knows until, we might know in 2026, but back then, and even ECW, concussions, hearing damage, arthritis, other things, those things weren't even thought of when you're doing that, nor in a way should be. I talked about the fear factor of everything. If you're afraid, you might as well not even do it in the first place.
Aside from the broken neck when you're going through like string of no disqualification matches and using weapons, did you feel that your body could absorb it a lot better and you sort of had no ill effects at the time? Or did you notice by the time they were all said and done, you're like, man, I'm aching every day from these?
Yeah, I mean, we worked 2 to 3 days a week, and sometimes we would do independent shows where you worked the same style. You worked hard to try to get booked again, but no, I didn't say, this is easy and this is a night off. Or like Brett, like Brett says the next morning you can get up. No, I could. After wrestling Sandman or Raven or even Terry, I thought, man, how much longer? And that was the beginning of me starting to really look at WCW and WWF, because it's like, if I stay in ECW by this time next year at this pace, what am I going to look like? Because I was trying to work out, and that's what really prompted me to work out, because I'm like, this incredibly physical style, I need to train, eat right. Didn't even know what inflammation was, but I need to do something to reduce all the pain that's not drugs. And that's when I started working out and then realizing, hey, it's not working. I'm still hurting.
Do you know what? I've just realised I don't think Greg Valentine ever made an appearance in ECW. He's like one of the only guys of like the 80s WWF era that never went to Eastern, who was available.
Good
I wonder
Lord, that's
why.
all the guys he worked too. Like maybe Morocco, Snuka, Tito even was there, I think.
Yeah, but
tons of
Bulldog, Neidhart. There were loads of them who turned up for like the first couple of years. I'm wondering why Greg didn't. Something to ask him in the future. But
I mean, he gets warm. It takes him 20 minutes to get warmed up. We didn't really have those long matches.
Fair enough then.
I would have loved to have worked him. It would have been great. You know what's funny about Valentine, and I think he's like Duggan. I worked Jim Duggan one time on an indie, and I was like, oh, this is going to be super easy and everything. And it was easy. But dude, he's unbelievable. He doesn't know how strong he is. When he hit me with the 3-point stance into the clothesline, it might as well have been Bradshaw. And it didn't even look like much, but he's such a big country strong guy. And Valentine reminds me of that. Like, you're just like, you're not hurt, but it's like, ooh, man. And then you try to grab him, and it's like, you're trying to grab this big cup that's solid, trying to move him. And I don't mean that as a slight. I'm just like, man, I'm in the ring with a monster. And I have to tell you this too. Some of Greg Valentine's shoot interviews are so good and so much fun to watch.
Dude, they were fun to record.
Oh,
I
you
did
did
too.
an interview. I never watched your interview. with
Oh
him.
my
I'm talking
God,
about-
there's one bit, and you'll know what bit I mean. It's hilarious. He has a problem with Beefcake's wife. It's hilarious. I'm telling you.
I've never seen him talk about any of that.
Oh,
That's
it's
awesome.
amazing. It's amazing. Do you know what? He was great to talk to as well. He was really, really nice. Because I think people were saying afterwards, I've never seen Greg show so much personality.
He does have a dry, funny person, but you and I can appreciate that. Did you ever see the documentary 350 Days on Amazon Prime?
Oh.
It's on there. The opening thing is Greg Valentine getting into the old like Cadillac, like Flair and Piper used to get in a big Cadillac, getting in there, driving, and it was just such a cool shot. But he's in that. I think Piper's in it. Kevin Sullivan's in it. Ox Baker, of course, is in it. Cooking. There's
Yep.
something for you.
Oh, dude! Someone wrote to me in the questions. I didn't get round to asking them because we didn't record Dutch on Tuesday as we normally do. Ox Baker released a cookbook in like 2011, and it's still available.
Oh, we need to get it. Is it on digital too?
Don't know. I'll have a look. But it's
I'm gonna
50
look on
stories
Amazon.
and 50 stories and 50 recipes. So we need to find that.
We got to do this. If there's a way, just for a fun segment, that you and I or just me can record a video using one of his recipes, cooking it up, and then tasting it.
I can cook a bit.
No, I'm not saying you can't. I just didn't know if it would translate with. I got a 60-foot USB cable, so I can bring the teleprompter out there. So I know you're not shocked at that, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not. But in fairness, I've got like a 40-meter like broadband cable that I just got just in case. I don't even need it. It's on a spool. We just collect this nonsense. I know. You never know.
Oh, can we do an Ox Baker episode?
Yes.
And then cook during it?
I will. Yeah. Let's see if we can find the book. I'd be interested to see if we can find the book and then do stuff. Any stories about Greg then? Signings, bumping into over the years. I mean, he was, at the Hall of Fame, I think, 2004. I think that's when he was inducted. The greatest Hall of Fame induction year ever, I think, was 2004.
Was that the Jesse one?
Yeah, Jesse and Morocco, and who else was there? Superstar?
It wasn't Piper, too. Did Piper get inducted that year?
That was the next year, 2005.
So they had a good string of legends throughout that the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
I've never met Greg Valentine.
You're kidding.
I've seen him in a distance at a convention, but you have to understand, too, if you look at Greg Valentine and you haven't had a conversation already, like you said, you're looking at him, you're like, he looks like the most unapproachable wrestler. But the second you start talking to him and in those shoot interviews and what I've heard from people like you is like, no, it's just, he looks like a grizzled old wrestler, but he's looked like a grizzled old wrestler for 50 years. He looks exactly the same.
Dude, between you and him, like probably the most luxurious long hair, like for over the long term as well. I've got a question for you. Did you think Greg was at one time meant to be like a Ric Flair ripoff? Because he had the robe, the bleach blonde hair. Did you ever peg him as one of like the Flair knockoffs at one point? Or was he just
Not
nothing
really.
like him? He even
Not
did the
really,
face front bump and the figure four.
But he said something to that effect as well, didn't he?
Don't
That the robes and all that stuff that he wore, not as a tribute to Flair, but there was something there. I don't know. Because they were the blue with the rhinestones and the bedazzled type. They were like a 1-to-1 replica almost of Flair's robes.
Well, Valentine always had the hearts. I remember, the sequin hearts.
But earlier he had the blue one. I think for when he lost the title to Tito, right? That was during that time of the early to mid 80s. He had the blue robe that looked suspiciously close to Flair's. Am I wrong? Starrcade 83. He came out.
Didn't
Or was that
see
the white one? He wore the blue one, I think, against Harley or Dusty, I believe.
With the robes, I don't know, man. Did you ever watch the Wahoo McDaniel feud? Any of that with I Broke
Oh,
Wahoo's leg?
Lord. Oh, I watched all the Wahoo McDaniel feuds. My goodness, that's a guy right there. Wow. I mean, legitimate football player, tough guy. Him and Greg went at it, him and Magnum. I think they put Magnum with him to test Magnum to make sure like you could pass this rite of passage, because it sure as hell it seemed like he was testing him. But man, yeah, the chops, I mean, the overhand from Greg and the regular chops from Wahoo, it was physical, man.
You know probably why Greg feuded with Wahoo. It was because Wahoo had a long feud with Johnny Valentine, his dad.
I did not know that.
Until the plane crash, of course, which Johnny Valentine was in, and then he retired afterwards, I think. And then at some point, Greg, I think it just made sense to have Greg in there as well.
Yeah, well, if there's two styles, we talk about a clash of similar styles. If you have a style like that, putting in, the two of the same, you actually do watch it. They don't cancel each other out. It's like, it's just a tough, it puts legitimacy and credibility back in the wrestling, especially back then when you have those two guys going at. By the way, what was up with like Austin Idol, Ric Flair? Now you got Johnny Valentine and a host of others during that time period from, 78 with Austin, and then there were so many plane crashes. Was that because they were smaller private planes, Cessnas and stuff like that?
Yeah, they were, but also you've got to make the next town, so I guess you just got to do it in all weather. You've got to make the town.
That's true.
So I figure, I can't remember what the Florida one was, but I know Mike McCord, Austin Idol, like, that's kind of why he never went to any territories. Like, too many of them, or like any national promotions, pretty much, because, like, you got to fly. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and then that one with him, he was barefoot, and he really, to come back from what he did and then become Austin Idol, that's definitely somebody. I got to text him. I haven't talked to him in a while. We always talk diet and workouts and stuff. He has a workout program.
Hey, he still looks good. He's in his 70s now, isn't he?
Yep. Oh, I always get him the big Battle Royal check. That's my favorite story.
Before we get off Greg, favorite match with Greg?
Wow, that's going to be tough. I saw a lot of like Philly Spectrum house shows where he wrestled Tito. Have to say him and Beefcake. All right, him and Beefcake versus the British Bulldogs WrestleMania 2, I believe.
Indeed,
that was an awesome match. Also, Greg and Rhythm and Blues. Him and Honky Tonk Man had some really good matches against the Hart Foundation, I think.
Ronnie Garvin in the WWF for that brief period of time.
That's basically they're recreating the Wahoo match with Ronnie Garvin. There's another guy who's like, man, yeah, I remember that. I'm trying to think of other stuff with Greg. Well, you got to we just talked about it. Him and Piper, we still talk about it how many decades later. That was one of the most violent, maybe not one of the greatest technical matches, but one of the most violent matches I ever see. And Valentine, like Monsoon said, it takes him 20 minutes to get warmed up in a match. You could at least, in that era, enjoy the entire experience. Did he ever work Sergeant Slaughter? Because that would be an amazing match, too.
Good question. If it was in the early 80s, they were both heels for the most part, weren't they?
Yeah, until Slaughter in the early to mid-80s. That would have been an incredible match.
Well, if they did or didn't, I've Googled it. Greg Valentine versus Sergeant Slaughter, but this is 1991. So that would have been the American Turncoat era.
So was Greg? He was temporarily a babyface. That was Slaughter's big heel run as the Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah, so that was that. But also Landover, Maryland, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just MD. It doesn't translate to me. 1984, Greg Valentine versus Sergeant Slaughter. So Greg would have been a heel, and this was post Iron Sheik feud, I guess, with Sergeant Slaughter. So just before, and this is in July of '84. So this is just before he got canned for the Hasbro deal.
By the way, the inverse of that loyalty thing, going back to the previous segment, who else was loyal to their current and future employer and did not listen to the previous one was the Iron Sheik. Because Vern wanted him to break Hogan's leg in that Garden match when Hulkamania was born, January 23rd, 1984. He wanted him to break his leg in that match.
We shall move on. WrestleMania 3, and we actually watched this on the Stevie Richards Patreon. I encourage you all to go and sign up for. Of course, I would. To go and sign up for the Stevie Richards Patreon. But this coming Monday, it will be indeed Adrian Adonis, the adorable one, versus Roddy Piper, WrestleMania 3, Pontiac Silverdome, Roddy Piper's retirement match. Wink. So.
I'm not the only guy that stays retired anymore. That's what it feels. I have no choice. That's why.
Dude, I think it's you and Nikita Koloff. That's about it. Who decided to retire and then stick to it.
Well, he got out of it relatively healthy, though.
I think he was 30. And he said, I'm done. He said he'd always promised himself he was going to be done by like 30 or something. And I also think he didn't enjoy working with Vader. So that kind of helped.
Was that the Philly match, Slamboree or Halloween Havoc, where it was rough watching him and Vader? He had the hair and everything.
Did he have the hair then?
He had spiky hair.
Yeah. He didn't enjoy that. So he decided to retire, I guess, 30 or thereabouts, and he was done. But anyway, enough about fake retirement. We'll leave that there, and we're actually going to skip ahead about 15 years or so. So Roddy Piper, of course, would come back to wrestling in 89, I believe it would be. It was about a 2-year retirement, I think. I found this just on Facebook. I didn't save the photo, and I should have done. Someone took a fan photo and posted it. It might have been Steve Stasiak, I'll ask. Ric Flair, and he's wrestling. Who's he wrestling? In a ring in Portland, and Roddy Piper is also there in the ring for like a photo opportunity. And Ric Flair's defending the WCW or NWA World title. And just Roddy Piper's there in 88, 89. It's just such a weird disconnect to think that they would interact at that time as well. I'll find it.
They've been pretty tight. They've been pretty tight since the old NWA or Mid-Atlantic days, right?
They had.
It's just famous picture.
It's just weird seeing Piper not like anywhere but a WWF ring like between 84 and 96, I think, until he went to WCW.
Yeah, that run there would wipe anything out. But when he was wrestling the territories, he was making a name for himself. And like we talked about the Greg Valentine thing, but he also had some brawls with Flair in that studio as well.
Yeah.
I remember seeing some on YouTube.
We will move on. So we're skipping ahead 15 years, and this is Roddy Piper versus Vince Russo. So this is NWA TNA Weekly Pay-Per-View 23, December 4th, 2002. You have seen this all the way through. You've talked to Vince Russo about this to get his opinion as well, and what he knew and what he didn't know about what the interaction was going to be. Suffice to say, Stevie, from what you know and what you've seen, went off the rails pretty quickly, I guess.
Well, because everything that Russo booked in that TNA Weekly phase, he admits this, was literally, we were doing some of that stuff on the fly. Nobody knew that he was coming into the building half the time for some of those segments. Jeff, he said, would call him and say, your segment's up next, or what we have booked is up next. And Vince would just go out there. This is the opposite. I'm just saying they had very much a fly by the seat of your pants kind of like improv type thing, which could work out, or in this case, sometimes it can go off the rails. I don't think Piper knew Russo was coming. As far as I know, what Russo said and what, Jeff has said, I think, in interviews, what Russo has definitely said that no one had any idea what Piper was going to say. Nobody had any idea that Russo was going to get into the ring, and nobody knew what was going to happen next. And obviously the Harris brothers were kind of keeping them separated. But man, yeah, this was a real segment. And I have no reason. I even asked Russo one-on-one. I was like, did you guys at least like say, hey, shoot on me hard, say whatever? And he goes, he went to the ring, had him booked there to do a promo. He started talking, and he thought maybe he was going to say something about Russo or TNA, or because Russo was the heel authority figure with the, what was it?
Sports Entertainment Extreme.
Yeah. And they would come out with separate entrance and all that stuff. The real locker room, I was in that locker room. It's smaller than the studio. But nobody knew anything. And that's why there was like, okay, this is weird. All right, this is really weird. Is this ever going to end? What's going on? Oh, they're pulling them. What? That's what I had, even just watching it back in 2026. It's still a very uncomfortable segment to watch.
We'll get back to this in a second. Did you ever experience anything like that in ECW, where it was completely, you were out there for a segment, you had no idea that what the person was going to say or what was going to be said to you, or you were shoved through the curtain last second kind of thing?
We had bullet points and we knew the storyline and where it was going, but nobody really knew exactly what was going to be said. In other words, here's a funny story about Perry, friend of the show, that Perry was like, do not do anything. Basically, I used to do like hand stuff to the referee and try to announce me as the original king of swing, Studley, Stevie Richards, Super Stevie, whatever. Do all these goofy ring introductions, which, by the way, I did it on the Indies at Wildcat as well. I would troll the crowd like after the New Orleans Saints lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. I announced that, from Philadelphia, they booed, and I said, the team that eliminated the New Orleans Saints from, it's easy. But Perry was like, now when you get out there, don't do anything cute. Don't do that stupid ring introduction thing. My dumb, ignorant self turned around and handed it right there. And Perry, you got to watch this. This is the part where it was where I Stevie kicked Francine. It was a dog collar match. It's on YouTube. And I handed it to the ref. I handed it to Rocky, I think. He starts doing the introduction. Perry passes in front of the hard camera, MFing me. Like looking this way when you see the F-bombs being dropped. Like, oh, it was so terrifying, but it's so funny now.
Why did he not want you to do it?
They were super serious, dude, and I was not. So when we teamed up against the Pitbulls and Francine, Perry was very much like, we do it our way, and he was the veteran. But that was my thing. And I was like, in a way, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. But in another way, Raven said, oh, that was great. Perry was so mad at you. I go, no, that's not great. Perry's mad.
I'm gonna ask Perry. I'm gonna ask him, see if he remembers it.
It'd be so funny if instantly he remembers the exact moment. Like, we're talking about 1996. So 30 years ago.
Okay, right. I need to make a short out of that, and I will send it Perry and see if he remembers it. And then we'll get his reply for it. Okay, then.
Getting back to the answer to that as well, because Perry didn't know I was going to do that, but Paul and Tommy and Raven all knew and still let me do it with Perry Saturn in the ring. Thanks a lot. But I talked about before that not so much in promos, but on house shows, they would switch matches up on me. They would switch and say, you're not the heel, you're the babyface, they're the heel. So there was a lot of like thinking on the fly that way on house shows, which I kind of appreciated after the fact. They kind of spiced it up a little bit because when you're on house shows, you just talked about it. Valentine and Piper, all these people, they took it on the road, on the loop before they went to TV or pay-per-views. That, even if it's violent, that can get extremely boring quick. So I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. It's a challenge. I didn't want that don't do it every night to me, but.
I think Russo would agree with you as well. Don't do this to him every night. He wouldn't appreciate it. So Roddy Piper, he's there for a different reason, I think, as well. I think he might have been promoting something else. He would turn up to TNA a few different times over the years, over a couple of years. I mean, he would actually go back to WWE in 2003 and then leave again. Another interesting fact is that he put on so much weight in 2003 is because he'd recently been in a really serious car wreck, like broken ribs, the whole bit. So he turned up looking terrible. Even, he completely admits that as well. That being said, he is doing an interview in the ring, and basically he starts burying Russo's influence on wrestling, and then he directly tied him to Owen Hart's death before calling him out to the ring. Russo entered, and then Piper got in his face and slapped him, and then continued the tirade with quotes such as, "Did you kill Owen Hart? Hey Russo, did you book my cousin Owen's death?" Vince Russo took it, but then he was held back by Ron and Don Harris, who were kind of, I guess, security for real that day. Russo has claimed none of this was agreed upon beforehand, and he was genuinely upset as he loved Owen Hart.
Yeah, he definitely loved Owen, and I'm sure Roddy and a lot of other people loved Owen Hart as well. And what Russo says, and I talked to him just a little bit ago about this, absolutely. He had no idea what was going on. I don't think Piper had much of an idea of anything. I know Piper's, a real tough guy and everything, fought since he was like in his early teens. But you watch that segment, Russo's like 6'5". Russo's a pretty big dude too. And the Harris brothers getting in between, who knows, the segment still could be going on right now if nobody was there to break it up. And really, nobody else was coming out to do anything except for the Harris, unless Russo, which I did not ask him, unless he's smarting them up to a certain point. Hey, if it gets to this point, come out there and break it up. because you don't know. I mean, you got one of the most unpredictable characters in wrestling history being put in an improv situation with somebody I guess he thinks had something to do with Owen Hart's accident.
Should also say that Roddy Piper is not cousins with any of the Harts. That's just something that he's just said for it, but he just loved the Hart family, I guess. I guess it's like blood.
Until the bologna sandwiches with only one slice of bologna. Remember the Bret Hart WrestleMania 8 promo?
No.
You don't remember the backstage promo you like so much? No, he's like, oh yeah, I remember Mama Hart used to, put the sandwich in one piece of bologna. He was like but he got that was an amazing pre-match promo.
So the reconciliation. So this is Russo in 2016. A quote. This is after Piper died. Quote, and this is the genesis, I guess, where the bad feelings came in. Less than a year ago, when Roddy reached out to me and asked me to be a guest on his podcast, I found out where the heat of 16 years stemmed from. Roddy explained to me that it all went back to the first time we worked together in WCW in 1999. My writing partner, Ed Ferrara, approached Roddy in the locker room before I did. Roddy told me he felt that showed a lack of respect on my part. Russo further writes that after that conversation, we ended our conversation with what I felt was a new respect and understanding for each other. I mean, that seems like a very small thing, ultimately, to get bent out of shape over.
Well, it could be, but you talk about a cumulative effect of different stressors for Piper. Different disrespect that he got, maybe more disrespect from people within the management of WCW, the creative team. Could have been anybody else. And then here comes Ed Ferrara. Bad timing, right? And may have innocently enough said something Piper felt disrespect. And we talked about Piper is fiercely loyal, but also this is an example of if he feels like you're disrespecting him or wronging him, what end up, it's the inverse, the opposite end of the spectrum there. And I can't see Ed Ferrara. It had to be a huge or a minor misunderstanding that was paired along with other real disrespect for Piper. And Ed was just caught, and then Russo obviously caught strays off of that too.
So later on in the show, apparently, Russo responded elsewhere on the show to Piper and then pretty much turned it into storyline from there on as the show was going on, doing more backstage segments, I guess, and tying it to his group at the time.
That's a long time, man, to carry around all that stuff for each of them. I'm sure Russo was trying to wonder what it was.
We shall leave the Roddy Piper stuff there for now. We will do a part 3 in the future, including Jerry Lawler, the match that neither of them wanted to talk about on the documentary because it was so bad. So that might be a what went wrong, or even a watch along for the Patreon as well, and we'll include more stuff to keep you interested. Especially, I'd like to hear the list of Stevie's top 4 or 5 or whoever it might be, WWE major players who are never champion and who maybe could or should have been as well. So that'll be included in a future episode. Take a drink. But for now, we're going to go to the news. And the first thing I want to draw your attention to, Stevie and everybody, Bruce Prichard, on why WWE does 4 to 5 match PLEs these days. So, it's really kind of got crystallized with WWE Raw on Netflix with 4 matches on the card, sometimes 5. SmackDown had 6. Now they've gone back to 3 hours, thank goodness. But anyway, it's kind of become the norm now. And SmackDown, where was it? Tickets to Aurora SmackDown once again is incredibly expensive. And I believe for the final Raw of 2025, you got 46.5 minutes of bell-to-bell action. It was absolutely nothing in comparison to what it used to be. But anyway, here's what Bruce said. I go back in time. 10 matches on a card is hard to watch. When you look at the presentation and you put so many things in a 10-match card, at the end of the night, what do you remember? You're most likely going to remember the main event, but there may have been an angle in the third match and a hell of a match, but you have forgotten because you have seen so much other stuff. Good, bad, or indifferent, I think less is more. There is more. Why don't we pick up that first paragraph there? And of course, it's apparently either 4 matches or 10 matches.
It's tough to even figure out. Like I understand what he's saying in a way in the theory, but I would challenge you with this right off the bat. Then why do you have so many people on the roster? That's what Dutch would say, right? Mm. I don't know. I mean, it's working for them. They're making more money than they have ever made, and they make more money all the time. when we talked about in that clip about the things to fix WWE in 2026, it was strictly from the perspective of trying to give the fans the maximum amount of value, entertainment, especially 4 to 5, might be into 6-figure tickets for certain shows. We need to give them quality. I understand what Bruce is saying with quality, but I dare say with no house shows especially, I stand by what I said, that if you're going to give people reps, have multiple matches, have enhancement matches, have those matches like Drew and Cody. Drew and Cody had an amazing 3 stages of hell match. Pay-per-view quality. I understand if you have a match like that. Now, you know where the formula works, where I also agree with Bruce? Saturday night's main event. One match sold that show. Now we can have people from NXT, TNA. We can experiment. 4 matches on that show. But by the way, that show is 90 minutes, right?
I thought it was 2 hours.
It might have been 2 hours, but I'm saying it's far short of a Raw, now a SmackDown, or even a PLE.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 matches is like with segments, and of course, you filled in the John Cena tribute stuff. It moves along pretty well. You can't do that every week. So I agree with that, but at the same time, isn't wrestling also the circus? Isn't wrestling a variety show? Isn't wrestling story arc driven? This is what I talked about too. Drew McIntyre, he's champion. Shouldn't the whole show revolve around him and challengers? Not he's in and out the first segment. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but history and patterns say, like, if you have Brock Lesnar, why are you not threading him throughout the entire show? That's what's missing. So if you stuck with 4 matches on a 3-hour show or PLE or whatever it is, you still need a certain story arc to fill in those gaps. But I go back to my first point. How many people are on the WWE roster right now? Not just NXT included. How many main roster talents are on their contract?
I mean, easily in the 3 figures. I don't know how many, though.
Okay, so you have 4 matches. So that means you don't have a whole lot of opportunity to go around to get better, to break through the glass ceiling, to get experience like a Maxine Dupree, big rematch coming up. So you have all this stuff. How can people get better with the absence of house shows?
Just to give you this as well. So on the Raw, WWE Raw is Stranger Things episode, 10 people wrestled over 4 matches. That was it. And did we say there were loads of luchadors? Rey Mysterio was there. Oh, we don't want to watch them. The Usos were there. They didn't wrestle. Walter Gunther was there. He didn't wrestle. AJ Styles was there. He didn't wrestle.
What I'm saying is, how many people were backstage besides those? It must have been 50 people minimum, and you used 10 people. I know they have main event or speed or these other shows. That's not why AJ Styles and Gunther are there. So it's very, very odd to do that. I don't have a good answer. You know what, though? Here's where we're going to put a spin on it. People say we're down on the product or whatever. If you enjoy it, you want to pay the money, and you're completely satisfied with 4 matches, and maybe WWE and TKO have done focus groups and some testing, because you sure as heck are still drawing crowds. People are still paying top dollar, and who's really complaining? If people were really dissatisfied with it, they'd be doing the Tarp Emporium stuff and tarping off sections. They're not doing it much anymore.
I want to give you this as well, right? So with the PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, the major main events shows, at least 4 of them every year are gimmick match-led shows. And you have to have one for the men and one for the women for the sake of equality, regardless of whether you actually... Once again, and I stole the line, I know, but you've got a gimmick that needs a match rather than a match that needs a gimmick for most of these anyway. And you sort of make these speciality matches redundant by having too many for no real good reason. You've got Money in the Bank, you've got Elimination Chamber, you've got War Games Survivor Series, you've got Royal Rumble. Have I forgot one?
Great Balls of Fire.
Grey Balls fight. King,
No, you don't anymore.
King and Queen of the Ring, which are tournaments.
Crown Jewel is just like whatever. It's a sold show. But yeah, the themes, I don't have the exact answer except for the fact that you have a lot of talent sitting in catering, sitting at home, doing nothing to fly in and do all that stuff. Maybe they're doing pre-tape, secondary show, digital media, whatever. They don't sign with WWE or become wrestlers to just do digital media shorts or whatever, or TikTok dances. They do it to get in the ring, wrestle, get that physical outlet. And of course, everybody has a limited, finite window until they're done. And right now, I dare say, even with an AJ Styles, doesn't have to wrestle every week. But what has AJ done to be special in potentially his last year as an active wrestler?
He's lost a lot.
Him and Dragon Lee had something with that tag team. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, they don't have any reason to course correct. Let's piggyback on the clip we talked about. They don't have to listen to us or anybody else. They're making billions, and guess what? They're going to make billions more when they sell to Saudi. The tickets in Vegas for WrestleMania, even the Rumble, worth, at the time of this recording, what are we, 2 weeks away from the Rumble?
Mm-hmm.
Not one person has mentioned the Royal Rumble.
I know. Or Saturday night's main event, and that's coming first. Barely any promotion. And they've got dead time. They've got dead time to promote the heck out of that, and they don't.
Here's my question to you. Are we at a point of so much oversaturation of specials, PLEs, 3-hour Raw, 3-hour SmackDown, 2.5 hour, 2:45, whatever it might be, that nothing means nothing anymore? And maybe, just maybe, giving them the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's easier on the office and creative to have less matches because there's so many shows.
Okay, well, here's what I'd say is to you, or I'll put this to you, is that every match is so over-rehearsed and poured over by so many different people that wrestling matches are far more complicated than they used to be. And Bruce was saying, hey, it's very, very hard to book these shows. And I would say to book a couple of backstage segments, an in-ring promo, and 4 matches over the course of 2.5 hours, that's not hard. You've got 1 million people on the payroll. It just strikes me as that they're overcomplicating this. Too many cooks in the kitchen. To the point that, for goodness sake, I mean, like, Raw's gone past, they used to have 10 matches and 1 million promos and everything else, and they'd be packed solid with stuff. Some would be great shows, some maybe not so much, but you'd move on to the next one. But shows would do 10 times the amount of stuff in the same show, and it wasn't overcomplicated then. They do it every week. But now somehow it's a lot harder.
Well, here's my speculation and my guess. If you simplify it too much at this point, and this is a corporate infrastructure, right?
You have to justify people's jobs.
You have to justify people's jobs. And what I would dare say is if somebody who's making 6 to 7 figures possibly, has stock options, health insurance, has power within the company, is telling us, hey, in this economy with people out of work, unemployment going up, people with the cost of living and everything, if somebody that's a 6-figure executive minimum is turning around telling us this job is hard, too bad. That's what you get paid the big bucks for. That's what I would say. Of course it's a hard job. It's not easy. But guess what? Like you said, it used to be Vince and Pat with a book. It used to be Dutch with nobody, with no lead time most times. It can be done. But we are now in the corporate WWE world. We are now TKO Endeavor. We now have to justify our jobs. We now have TPS reports, like in Office Space. Mm-hmm. We have every bit of red tape to take. Who said they take all the fun out of doing this? I forget who it was.
Don't know.
It was like last episode. It said they take all the fun out of doing this stuff.
Anybody?
Might have been one of the agents. Might have been us. But that's all it is. If you want the Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is there's a lot of writers, a lot of agents, and a lot of Bruces in the company that need to justify their jobs. Hey, this isn't easy. which means you can't get just any guy off the street to replace us. Hey, as a matter of fact, it's so hard you can't get AI to do it. People are doing that.
I'm going to continue with the quote here. Talent is not paid on pay-per-view buys. There is no time allotment. They don't really want more than 3 hours. It's a different time and a different way people consume. I need my WrestleMania moment. You have a moment next month in the main event. I want to be on WrestleMania. Where? It's going to get lost here, and we're doing this. Okay, Stevie, as a performer who was in WWE for 10 years, if somebody told you, you can't be on WrestleMania, but you can be at Backlash, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, if the money's the same, I'd much rather be at WrestleMania.
Yeah, if the money's the same, but then what's the incentive for anybody to have their WrestleMania moment? You just said, is there incentive to make more money to be on these shows? And if that's the case, this is me just with just a professional challenge or a pushback to Bruce and everybody that says this. If that's the case, why do you have 2 nights of WrestleMania? How many matches were last year's WrestleMania?
12, maybe 6 a night.
Why don't you have 4 per night or 4 total? They're never going to remember anything, right? You can't have it both ways.
That's the one that gets me. It's like, well, we don't have 10 matches a show, so we have to have 4 because you wouldn't remember anything afterwards. What a load of crap. And also, there are numbers between 4 and 10. There is a happy medium here. 7 would be fine. I quote a Backlash from 2004. I just picked one at random and picked that one. 8 matches bounded along. Way more promos, way more matches, the same in-ring bell time, but also twice as many entrances. And the shows were the same length. One dragged, one didn't.
Here's another thing, too, that's funny. We watched Piper and Brett, and we just watched Piper and Adrian Adonis. They were in stadiums. And they got to the ring quicker than Seth Rollins does on Raw.
Well, they had the little cart thing.
If you can look up how many matches, say, WrestleMania 8 had, or even WrestleMania 3, and then tell me that you don't remember from WrestleMania 3, Hogan and Andre, Savage and Steamboat. By the way, nobody will remember Savage and Steamboat because Hogan and Andre are the main event. So why bother having that? Nobody will remember Piper versus Adrian Adonis.
Have a guess for 3. Have a guess for 3.
10.
12. WrestleMania 8 had 10. Do you know what the semi-main event of WrestleMania 8 is? And nobody would ever believe it otherwise. Owen Hart versus Skinner.
Yeah, that was in between, right? In between, because they had Savage and Flair, then they had Hogan and Sid for the main event. Where
No,
Warrior
not quite.
Came out, Papa Shango.
Randy Savage and Ric Flair was 6th. And then
I'm saying that Owen and Skinner were right before the main event, the last match.
They were, yeah. But then you had 3 matches in between and then the main event.
That's where Owen did his flip in the ring, turn around, and he spit the stuff in his face, right?
Did he?
Owen did a backflip in the ring, turn around, and Skinner spit the chew in his face.
Do you know what's funny? It's for SummerSlam 92, they had dark matches during the pay-per-view.
Really?
Yeah. They actually, I'm going to try and tell you which one it is.
So how many matches were on SummerSlam 92 Wembley?
Bear with me. I'm searching for it. It had 11, 3 dark matches, including the semi-main event, which was Tatanka defeating the Berserker, because all they did was play promos on the pay-per-view, and they had a match for the house.
So they were double dipping, and people were still invested and interested in all the matches.
Yeah, there was no downtime for the live audience at all.
But that's what I mean. They were doing stuff to keep everybody happy, people watching the pay-per-view, people in the crowd, and it moved along. But we just mentioned 3 of possibly the greatest WrestleManias. There's a lot of great WrestleManias. And SummerSlam I'm talking about too. Probably the greatest, SummerSlam that I think of when I watch back in some of the matches and the action and the environment. It's memorable to me. I didn't say, after match 4, it's like, who cares about Savage and Warrior? Or I'm just waiting for Brett and Davey Boy. I don't care about Savage and Warrior. LOD and Money Inc. to open it up. You know what I mean? There's lots of great matches on all these shows. I can't say, here's the thing. once again, WWE is making money hand over fist. Everybody can say it's an evolution in the product, an evolution in what we're trying to do. And I don't fault them for trying different things, but I dare say for the money people are paying, you want to give them the biggest bang for their buck with that.
Do you know what's funny as well is that those 3 shows that I mentioned to you, they were all stadium shows with incredibly long aisleways.
And they got to the ring sooner than people do on Raw.
Yes. Hey, I've got it on good authority that the Young Bucks are still sailing on a barge somewhere in
My wife
Texas
still
Stadium.
brings that up. She goes, "What are those?" And she says, "What are those kids doing on the boat?"
I think they're both older than me as well. I think both in the 40s now, the Young Bucks.
They look youthful. They never age.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Good for them.
But getting back to this, they can do whatever they want with that, but you can't have it. You see the dichotomy of everything, the contradiction. Four matches nobody's going to remember. We just talked. You even have current WrestleManias going 2 days. Is SummerSlam 2 days now?
Yep. As of last year, yeah.
Then why 2 matches per night, right? You don't need to have more than 4. I'm not being a smartass. I'm really not being a wise guy about it. He's the one that said all this.
There's more to actually say. When you look at the presentation and you put so many things in a 10-match card, at the end of the night, what do you remember? You're most likely going to remember the main event, but there may have been an angle in the 3rd match and a hell of a match, but you've forgotten it because you have seen so much other stuff. Where is he pulling this information from? This is not hard-hitting research. He's just making this up to justify just having an easier existence.
I have no idea. I mean, you think this is it sounds like he's got the TK corporate speak down, though. He's got that. But Bruce was heavily involved in all the greatest pay-per-views and specials that have come before that we're talking about.
He hated them all, apparently. Because there were too many matches. I don't get it. What would you rather have? 2 40-minute plus War Games matches that were almost like artificially extended to fill the pay-per-view, PLE. Because no one thought 40-odd minutes.
Or 8 10-minute matches.
Yeah. It blows my mind because there are so many great War Games matches from WCW. And guess what? They all were about 25 minutes. You get in, you get out. Hard hitting, fast, new person every 3 minutes. Do you finish? Get out. See you later. Great.
And how many matches were on the War Games show? I guarantee 6 to 8.
Of that one, yeah. Minimum.
No, the WCW one. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then Survivor Series has... I wrote them down. So I
still stand by my thought that if, I don't want anybody to bleed or get cut or anything, but when you see the cage and that kind of stuff, I love the traditional Survivor Series eliminations. That to me was fun.
I'm just looking at because I'm going to try and prove further the point. For what was the big show for December? There wasn't one, was there, for WWE? The last one was Survivor Series. So that's the latest one. Anyway, I'll compare this. So Backlash 2004, 1 heat match, which doesn't count, but 1 warm-up match. 8 pay-per-view matches. Of course it's count.
How dare you?
For the main
how
pay-per-view.
Dare you?
For the timing of the main pay-per-view, it doesn't count, but I wanted to throw it in there. Show length 2 hours 34 minutes. Wrestling time bell to bell about 100 minutes. Also included in the show intros, recaps, promos, analysis, etc. Everything, and and several recaps and promo videos for matches coming up. Not just one, but at least more than one. Survivor Series 2025, 4 matches. Show length 5 minutes shorter at 2 hours 29, so basically the same as what Raw is today. And bell-to-bell action time, 110 minutes. And of the criticism of that show, people said 3 of those 4 matches went way too long. The only one that didn't was Dominic and John Cena, I believe.
I want to go back to this quote because I think you skipped over this. Television is just as valuable as the PLEs with rights fees. See, it's the money. To be on television to a huge number of people versus PLEs. So you're saying the TVs draw more than the PLEs. That has changed. Oh, wait, That it's changed. Every time you're on screen is valuable. Here's where, once again, I
They're not on
challenge
screen.
the point.
That's the problem.
Here's the challenge. Everything's the same. What's special? If you're making every single week special and every single week something, and every single week has to do something valuable to the talent, the storyline, and everything, which I dare say, like you said, you're 10 people are on the show. So what do the other people do? I think these quotes are more for the company than for us.
We shall move on. So why don't we talk about something in WWE that actually really was special, and an actual surprise, an honest-to-goodness surprise happened. Drew McIntyre, unless you read the spoilers, Drew McIntyre wins the WWE title in Berlin, Germany. So Drew is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Drew's just about the best thing in WWE.
100% agree. 100% agree.
So, one of the best performers in WWE, been on mostly a losing streak of singles matches, apparently, including 2, I think, in a row to Cody Rhodes in big matches. And yet he still gets a 3rd title match. And basically, if he lost this, where would Drew have even been, booking-wise?
Oh, man. I don't know. I think I said on a previous episode that if he loses against Cody and he doesn't win the title sooner rather than later, then he's just going to be relegated back to whatever and never get a title shot again. So I don't know this is the interesting part, and we can debate whether it's a good or bad thing in just a few minutes. But yeah, Drew needed this win and needed to be in this spot now, which creates actually a lot of interest, intrigue, fluid motion, instability in the storylines. Like I said, we don't even know outside of the Royal Rumble what the matches are. You have 2 weeks out. And we got WrestleMania coming up. So hopefully this type of kind of shock to the entire system right now is going to benefit Drew all the way into WrestleMania.
Do you prefer, because I gave some examples when I did a video of it, of different WrestleManias that had really chaotic lead-ups to the show. And for me, I think they make some of the best weekly television when you kind of don't know what's happening. Because now, you don't know who is going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. No one's got any idea now. Apparently, probably a year out, it's going to be Cody and Roman again. And surely that must have drawn yawns from people. We've already seen it twice in 3 years. You don't need it again. But now, with Drew as champion, and the other thing to make mention of is, supposedly, there's been some huge backstage shakeups in the creative in WWE SmackDown, and this was only decided, this title change, around Wednesday. So this is a real last-minute thing, and it seems like this was absolutely not on anybody's cards until a few days ago, because Drew wasn't even in the WrestleMania casino promo videos to hype the event. That's
so interesting, and I hope now, not proactively, but reactively, that they are going to take care of Drew and think of stuff and take input and do whatever they need to do to keep Drew strong. Because you know what? Cody actually deserves maybe a chapter 3 of the story. Not sure how it's going to play out. But if anybody, and you said this before, to be a babyface and draw, not only in your first title reign, but keep the interest in drawing your second, that's a massive accomplishment in 2025, with a short attention span, been there, done that, seen it already. I think Cody has earned, if they present it the right way, he has earned another chapter in that story with Drew. Maybe they're going to do that thing, the Rumble, somebody wins, then it switches an Elimination Chamber. They have a different way of going with that. Yeah, if they can recapture the chaos and insanity on a daily basis of the WrestleMania 40 lead up, I think they're going to have something right there.
Okay, I'm going to put something to you. Do you actually think Cody Rhodes' second WWE title run was a big success? Because I always kind of got the impression, kind of throughout the year, but in the second title run more, that the fans were kind of growing weary with it. And even in the match in Berlin, Cody was not getting that much of a reaction, even in the ring introductions. Yes, Drew was getting booed, but Cody was not getting huge cheers. And then, because obviously fans want to see a title change, they're going to, cheer for the challenger more, especially these days. But do you think Cody's second run was a success, really? Or was it kind of just treading water until they figured out what to do with him?
Well, you think about the first chapter. I'm using chapters in the story because I think they would be smart to go back to the story. It's not complete. It's another chapter. It was a 2-year run where he lost to Roman and then he won it at WrestleMania 40, and then all the dips and Rocky doing what he did and your guy Travis Scott interfering in Elimination Chamber, the John Cena heel turn. Dude, you had tons of wrinkles with a 2-year build. That's what I was saying in that clip. We need another thing where somebody has 12, 18, 24-month story because you can recapture that. The second title run seems stale in comparison because there's not that much gravity attached to it. But I dare say Cody was hitting his stride. Now, the fans might have started to not turn on Cody, but say, yeah, he's our comfort food as champion. He's a good, all reliable champion. We know Cody's going to give us everything. Cody's gotten to the point now, just like we saw with Adrian Adonis in the WrestleMania 3 thing. Cody makes it look natural, easy. Cody now, maybe familiarity breeds a little bit of contempt with some people. Plus, hey, I bought a ticket. I want to see the title change. You mix all that in. I don't think it's an indictment on Cody's work, his body of work, the title run. I feel like he's had some really, dare I say it, even better matches in the second run than he did as the first.
Do you think he comes across as a bit heelish? Because I've always thought
he's
Cody
Homelander.
does. Yeah.
Oh, he's Homelander. Yeah.
Yeah, because even when I was watching that John Cena interview on Cody's podcast, I was like, this is like watching two fax machines communicate between each other. They might as well just communicate in bleeps and blorps for like how emotionless they were for the most of it.
Well, Cody's also a very corporate guy. He's a very company guy. But I have to say, when Cody has to turn it up, be intense, work in a style that's almost like sometimes like, smaller guys, luchador, he can do a ton of stuff. I'm a big fan of Cody's work.
And he's a great heel as well. He's when he was in TNA, for example, people forget that.
No, I don't forget it. Pepper's Farm remembers too. So, but I stick with the fact of there is still more tread in his tire as a babyface. Now, when do we get to the point where he jumps the shark? Maybe they take it all the way to the fact of Cody will never turn heel. That's when he turns heel, a John Cena type heel turn. So I don't know. Cody's how can I say? I said comfort food as far as a wrestling character, but Cody is kind of the rock and the foundation of the company in a way. The good, steady, solid, anywhere you put him, he'll get over, including the main event in the world title picture. But that has to be exclusive to the fact of, I believe you have so much tread on the tire with a Drew McIntyre heel troll world champion title run. Don't waste it.
The
only thing I would say with Drew, I'm sorry, it's fresh. The only thing I would have said alternatively with Drew, because what did Drew constantly do to himself with what he did? He would constantly pull the rug out from under himself. He would constantly bury himself to the office or other things on TV. If he had done something to get stripped of the title almost instantly in that match, you know what I mean? I'm just saying to keep that, because then Drew's a strong candidate to have the people turn him babyface and maybe have a potential Brett and Austin double turn scenario. I'm just saying. What they did was fine. I loved what they did with the finish, but what are you going to do now with the intrigue and anticipation? What's going to happen with Drew as champion? Hey, is Cody a smartass? Is he all done? What's going to happen when Cody has a lot of intrigue? Is he frustrated? Is that Homelander character going to come to the surface? Are we going to see the pocket watch? We don't know. I love the pocket watch.
I believe Drew's still got the watch. The Rolex, Dusty's Rolex anyway.
I'm not kidding. To have a guy come out in a 3-piece suit, hair dyed blonde, using $5 words with a pocket watch, and the people still love him. That's a baby face.
So, have you got footage of this? Are we going to watch some footage, some what went right as far as Drew's win? Because you were your friend, hey Wacko, Tommy Dreamer, made some comments that he didn't like the finish at all, but I didn't have a problem with it, and you said beforehand you really liked the finish of this, so it opens up a lot of possibilities. So it's a what went right. Drew wins the WWE title. So over to you.
He stole the Black Scorpion's gear, so now we have a thief in the WWE. Where's the repo man when you need him? So this is where Drew is about to crawl out, correct? And he's cut off by the Black Scorpion, which turns out to be, and I actually love this because it's a callback, because they remember. Sometimes they forget, you know what I mean? Oh, we didn't know that Drew McIntyre took Jacob Fatu out weeks ago, maybe months. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, it was a couple of months. We don't know that though, do we? It was presumed. So it may not have been Drew.
Well, by what's about to happen, Jacob Fatu assumes it as well. So here you go with the reveal. It's Austin. No, it's Jacob Fatu. I love the reaction. Drew is honestly begging off, mad. And then when Jacob Fatu is starting to take the jacket off, he becomes that you-know-what heel. Drew's the best. We said in the beginning, we got to keep saying the best thing they have right now. He comes in, he's trying to get away, trying to climb the cage, and Jacob fast. So he lost a lot of weight. Good for him. But these kicks right here, really, really good. The headbutts, everything down. I'm going to say besides the finish, and people might be like, man, you love splitting hairs. This little thing, this nuance and detail, for some reason was my favorite part of this finish outside of the actual finish. Watch this. Why that punch? Why this punch stood out to me? I don't even know, dude. Just the way Cody turns him around. Boom. And staggers. And I said before, I've been stiff like that, and I not sold. I actually got staggered. But there's something about this punch is just so sudden, and Cody gets caught off guard. He doesn't bump. He just gets staggered like he got sucker punched out of nowhere. It's so good. And puts himself in the corner for these shoulder blocks. It's like Cody doesn't have time. You know what I mean? And as this is going on and Cody's fighting back, they got Drew just peeling himself onto the floor, winning the title. And then I want to get the shot where Cody's bleeding in the back of his head too. Jacob Fatu can't believe what happened. He's got his eyes on Drew, and he's just looking, trying to figure out what happened. Now the belt's being put in Drew's hand. And right there, we're going home with Drew as the champion. So this was really just something that I know how Dreamer's confused. We're going to talk about it in a second. He's very confused by this. But to me, it also, instead of answering questions, there's a ton more to be asked at this point. And that's exactly why people would tune in next week and the week after to see how it develops with Drew as champion. Is Jacob going after Drew? Where's Cody? Is now Cody going to go after Jacob? Is Jacob and Cody going to go on the side quest here? We have the Royal Rumble coming up. Who's going to win that? So we can get the Dreamer's comment and review and opinion, which he makes some great points where he goes, hey, Wacko, did you know it didn't make any sense? Yeah, you wanted me to do that, didn't you?
Do you think, what if Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns teamed up against Cody and somebody? Because then that'd keep them all out of the title picture where they kind of don't need to be at this point, I think.
That's a very interesting thing. I mean, here's what I don't want to happen at WrestleMania because it never, ever worked out. I do not want you to recreate the WrestleMania 2000 main event and have 4 people, a multi-person world title match, and don't include 4 people in the corners either.
Funny you mention that because I was just researching a video exactly for that just 2 days ago. How like all the McMahons wedged themselves in that. Including Vince McMahon standing tall with Stephanie. Triple H didn't even celebrate at the end. It was Vince and Stephanie.
Of course it was. Oh, he got the receipt now, so Triple H is going to celebrate whether he likes it or anybody likes it or not. But what I'm saying here is, and then read the quote from Dreamer, and then I'll give my kind of rebuttal on that.
Okay, Tommy Dreamer says, I did not like the finish at all because what does that do for Jacob Fatu?
Puts him in the main event title picture.
Yeah? Anyway, he reveals that it's Drew McIntyre who attacked him, and he gets a reaction, which he doesn't reveal. That's not specifically. He doesn't. That can still be a mystery at this point. And then the moment he turns to Cody Rhodes, they start booing him. So I'm like, all right, you don't like Cody throughout the match, but now this guy Jacob, whom you like, once he starts beating up Cody, whom you don't like, now you're booing him and cheering for the guy Fatu's beating up. The finish came off a little weird after a great match. Wasn't a great fan of the finish just because it got me confused.
I can see his point. By the way, this, I said it earlier, pay-per-view, PLE, well, Bruce thinks there's no difference. It was an amazing match. 3 stages of hell to have 3 unique matches back to back to back, and remember what you're doing as well. These are 2 pros. Jacob Fatu is a pro too, but these are 2 pros that when you give them an immense assignment like this, they have one of the best matches I've seen in a long time, PLE or not. Really amazing match. So, what does it do for Jacob Fatu? Man, it makes him super relevant. It makes you have super anticipation. By the way, you know it would be a complete swerve right here? Like you said, we've never confirmed it fully that Jacob Fatu was attacked by Drew McIntyre. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, because Drew could react to that thinking, oh no, Jacob thinks I attacked him. And actually, it could have been Cody Rhodes all along.
That would explain why he attacked Cody too. Or he thought it was Cody, and now we have the whodunit. We have Clue, basically. So if you were going to turn Cody heel, which I'm not suggesting you do, man, what a swerve that would be, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. But I don't think confusing is one way to. I'm kind of looking forward to being confused somewhat so I can tune in to see how they're going to explain it.
Yeah,
Does that make
good,
sense
it's
as well?
good confusing because you know you will eventually get a resolution from it. It's like, ooh, we don't know the whole story.
We don't know that for sure, though.
No,
don't
we don't
give
know
them that
sure,
much
right.
credit.
But anyway,
what I'm looking at here, they've given us way too much predictability in a lot of things. Or, hey, it's a surprise, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They're like over the top. But this here really has like, fantasy booking is just like going to be at an all-time high right now based on this.
yeah, and once again, WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania not 20, I can't remember, 13, I remember, as well, just like having just these completely chaotic
Even WrestleMania
builds,
10 during the show.
Yeah.
You had Brett and Owen. Brett lost the first match. It was Luger and It was 2 title matches in the card. Yokozuna defending against Luger and then Brett at the end. And they booked that so well with Owen going over and you not thinking Brett had a chance.
I still say some of the best stories are not the ones that were planned out a year in advance. Some of the best stories are the ones where someone goes, oh, well, we've done this instead. Oh, what do we do now? I don't know, figure it out. You've got 3 hours. And sometimes, that pressure cooker environment can yield the best ideas.
Yeah. I still stand by a skeleton of a show, a skeleton of a blueprint to get there. But of course, people get hurt all the time, especially now. You're going to have plan Bs. People step up, and that's when I go back to my original point. If you're on deck and somebody gets hurt or messes up, you have those matches and reps. You haven't been sitting in unbooked catering for 4 months.
Okay, a bit more news, and then we're going to shut down the show for the week. Ric Flair apology for Cameos. So, for people who don't know, although I'm sure most people who watch this do know, Ric Flair has ended up under the microscope, getting some scrutiny from, I guess, us, if nothing else, including quite a few other people over his cameos, and quite frankly, some of the poor quality cameos that he's done. I mean, we're not talking about the audio or the video, we're talking about maybe some of the settings being very loud because he's clearly doing it in a restaurant, but mostly because he's in some of these cameos, not all, absolutely steaming drunk, and giving people like absolutely really bad value for money, as if there could be good value for money for a $600 cameo for 1 minute. But there you go. But Ric Flair has responded to these, and here is his quotes. I wouldn't want anyone to have a bad experience as they keep pouring in. These bad experiences, I guess. So to make things right, I am more than happy to reimburse that person that seems to be unhappy with their cameo. Please reach out to my law firm in Boston Hartman Law. I apologise for not addressing this sooner. So Ric Flair has addressed this in... I'll pull up a couple of words he mentioned, but he's addressed it at least finally.
Is there... I just have a question about that first line. Is he saying the bad experience reviews are pouring in or the cameos are pouring in?
I think he means the cameos are pouring in, but it sounds like the bad experiences are pouring in.
Yeah, I think he means that he keeps getting requests. And obviously after this, there was a lot of people that said, that's exactly the cameo I want. And once again, just like people that go to the WWE shows with that clip we talked about and everything else, if that's what you want to do, the market will decide if it's going to be popular or not, if he's going to get a ton or he's not. So if that's the way you want to do it on a... Dude, you and I, with our friends, have obviously done things that are total larks or novelties or, you know, it would be cool, right? So if that's your idea, and then there's people like, I would have loved to have that at my wedding reception if they played that on the screen before the first dance.
Woo, don't do it.
Hey.
You've made the worst mistake of your life.
You know what? Everybody has their opinion. They have it's his money, you know, and Barf, you know, Barf got it. Barf will live in infamy. Sorry, Barf, I got your name wrong and called you Bart. Don't get mad at me. He didn't pay me $600 though.
Okay, this kind of opens up a couple of different things though. Is one, I'm sure you'll get more cameo requests because every single time we mention Cameo or I mention it on my channel, you get an influx of them, and I'm happy for you that happens as well. But it's kind of weird, the refund policy of Cameo, and I'm going to read you some of the lines from it. Cameo videos are personalized products and often require significant time and effort of the creator to complete. Now, they quite clearly didn't have Ric Flair in mind for that when he's apparently just trying to pay off his bar tab. You know what I mean? It's in the restaurant. It's like, damn, I haven't got enough cash on me. One sec. Barf. Woo! Don't get married. You know, that kind of, that's another $600. Yeah. Stay your girlfriend, whatever that means. Anyway, they are accordingly not exchangeable or refundable. Similarly, all other transactions on Cameo, including messages sent through Cameo Direct, stickers, gift cards, and tips, are not returnable, exchangeable, or refundable. Creators on Cameo have the sole discretion to determine how to fulfill your booking request and the content of the resulting video. They may not follow your request exactly. That's really draconian if you've been given, once again, Ric Flair's calling you the wrong name.
But
you can't hear him because he's in a pat restaurant.
That was the part two. He read it word for word off of the request.
Yeah, but he misread the name. It was meant to be Buff.
I know that part. I'm just saying, this policy sounds strangely like this is not an isolated incident, which I assume it's not. But Cameo's pretty much saying, too bad. Yeah, it's tough because I know that with digital products, I buy stuff like plugins for DaVinci Resolve and other things. Refunds are hard because you've already downloaded, you already have it. So these people can download the video and then say, I wasn't satisfied, I want my money back, and then just keep getting cameos. There's two sides to this. You know, people can game the system and take advantage of it. So maybe Cameo, I mean, this is the only way they can go with it. I don't know. I've been really fortunate to not ever have any kind of problem like that. And if anybody needed anything else, I would make sure to redo it or anything like that. Even I missed somebody asked me a question, asked me like 3 things, but I missed the last one. I put a bars and tone with Tony Gurria up there. And then he come back, oh, I forgot, to answer this question for you. Try to make it fun.
Now, here's something else as well in the Twitter post from Ric Flair. And you know it's Ric Flair's because every single word is capitalized. Please reach out to my law firm in Boston Hartman Law for a refund. That must be the most convoluted way of trying to get a refund ever, is contacting a law firm. It's like, hello to the front desk. Can I speak to the person who's in charge of Ric Flair Cameo refunds, please? They'll hang up on you.
Russo had told me yesterday when we were recording the show, he said, because they were talking about it, we were talking about off air, Ben, Vince, and myself. You know what they usually say when somebody calls? Because people have tried to get money or sue Rick or anything like that. Get in line. No, it's exactly what they say. Or Carrie Silkin was trying to get his money for the ROH appearances, like 40 grand. They said, yeah, he owes it to you, bud. Get in line. This is from Russo as far as Carrie saying it and other people that were suing him.
It's funny how we were talking about wrestlers with integrity at the beginning of this episode, and we've ended here.
Well, I've already got some bad news for you, as Wade Barrett would say. Everybody's got a choice. This is the thing, though. Let's go back to the first point that I needed to clarify in the video that we did about this. Somebody's going to be willing to pay Ric Flair $600 for a cameo. Used to be $1,000. It's down to like $5 or $6 now. They're willing to pay it. They're willing to do it, and that's totally fine. And what he said here is they keep pouring in. That's awesome. That's a blessing. That's free money. That's a gift. So get in line.
Yeah. Hey, well, we've plugged it for 2 or 3 videos now. Just in case, because I'm going to leave this in the clip as well, if somebody orders a cameo from somebody, say, oh, I don't know, Stevie Richards, what can they expect? I mean, 1, you'll be sober, 2, it'll be longer than a minute. But what can they expect from a Stevie Richards cameo? Who has got 5 stars across the board, by the way.
You got to go back to the last clip because somebody had actually emailed me and said it was the best part because your reaction, which Chris is going to make a short about it, it was like the worst question in the world. Like, how do you use equipment to create your cameos? And somebody goes 30 minutes later. So I'm not kidding. Yeah. What you're going to get is the number one thing I try to offer is effort. Is put effort in. Your money, even if it's just $30 or whatever you say I should charge, it's money that you could spend elsewhere. I know. I go back to him, Chris. He's shaking his head.
Just $30, man. I mean, compared to what other people are charging. I mean, I did say that the fake Rock impersonator was charging $30. And he did not have 5 stars across the board.
What I'm saying, we aren't going to stick to that. Effort and what you give me as far as that's concerned, I'll do the research. Also, what I add into my cameos that I like adding because I don't like being in front of the camera all the time is I add B-roll. So if somebody has a request about something, I put B-roll in there as well. Actually, one person asked me about a Sandman promo where he blamed Vince McMahon for Metallica wanted to let Sandman and WWE use the song and they were going to do like a concert at SummerSlam. I remember this. So what I did was I did a picture-in-picture on the cameo and reacted to the promo like you do when you pause, come back, talk, and everything. So that was a new kind of wrinkle I put on the cameos as well.
There you go. But if you do pay Stevie instead of $30, $600, he will get drunk and call you Barf.
Now, people have requested I do a drunk cameo. And people, I got one that said, my parents are celebrating their 48th wedding anniversary. Tell my father to leave my mother.
Will he?
And I said, sorry, I can't do that. But I was going to say, there's a young man called Ric Flair that might be just the person you're looking for.
Slightly more pricey, but you definitely
stay her 48-year girlfriend.
Right, let's get to... actually, we're ending it on kind of sad news. Very sad news, I guess. Pretty Deadly was a tag team in WWE for a few years, of course, on the main roster for a couple of years. Elton Prince was one of the 2 members of the tag team, not been seen since May. Now, Kit Wilson, he's had new entrance music for a little while, and then, last Friday, I think, or the Friday before, I can't remember which. Friday before, I think. Brand new Titantron, as they used to call it, entrance video, the whole bit, and it seems like they're really going to try and push him, or at least give him a bit of character for a singles run. And that sort of brought up people's questioning once again, where's his tag partner, Elton Prince? Turns out, he has indeed, we've known he's been injured. He's been injured since May, but we've only just realised how unbelievably serious the injury was. Do we want to see how it happened first, or do you want me to read his Instagram post?
If you can read, and then I'll take a look at it, because it's definitely, it shows how dangerous the business could be. Business could be even with what's been a move that's been done a million times.
Right, I'll switch it up on my screen so everyone can see. Elton Prince _PD. Back in May, I took a bad landing in the ring. The top of my head hit the mat, and what felt like burning hot electricity exploded through my neck and my arms. I lost control. Well, you know how that felt.
Exactly. That is a sickening, nauseating, electric burning. Your entire body's on fire. And then the fear sets in, because you're like, all these things are happening. What's the next feeling, if any? That's the terrifying part.
I lost control of my hands as all my fingers curled in and was stuck for a moment. It was pretty terrifying, and what followed has been 7 months of tests, questions, and, well, pain. But thanks to the efforts of the WWE medical staff and Dr. Kantner, Gina and the HOAG team, we found the problem, and yesterday I successfully underwent a 2-level neck fusion. Not exactly where I hoped to be at 28, but we are owed nothing in this life, and I am just grateful to be on the road to recovery. I want to thank everybody who has messaged or commented to ask how and where I am. It's been nice to not feel forgotten, and I will try my hardest to overcome all the obstacles and get back in the ring with you. I think that's pretty much it, apart from more that's Nick Aldis. More thanking of people who got in contact and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, once again, you know the terror that goes through your mind when you're dealing with, I guess, an injury this severe. But also, as we're going to have a look into what went wrong, Stevie, it didn't look like anything had even quite gone wrong. It was really, really, I guess, undersold as far as the danger of the move itself. So please, take us through what went wrong.
Well, thank you, James. Before we get into that, I think the strangest part and the scariest part to Elton is definitely the months and months and months of not knowing, as that disc herniation or whatever injury that he had in his neck region. I'm sure he had numbness. He had pins and needles. He was losing muscle mass. There's tons of things, and nobody can get any answers on this. To me, that's like the biggest mystery. You and I had said on the pre-show, it should have been pretty easy to figure this out. So this injury is even scarier, because the kid has to, like, a 28-year-old kid is really degenerating weeks and months after this. And he's like, well, how did it happen? I don't know. I got this feeling from a DDT that looked kind of like nothing. And now in January, so what's that? Like 7 months? I mean, that's crazy to go through that. So let's take a look at this. All right, so here we have Nathan Frazier, who he's wrestling in the ring, goes over, he's picking him up for a scorpion death drop here. Then the other person comes in here. So it's okay. So he took the scorpion death drop from Nathan Frazier and the other guy, Kit Wilson, right? With a K.
Yeah, Kit Wilson, yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, man, yeah. What I'm looking at here, first, when he's bent over that way, that's a hard place to be in order to land flat and try to tuck your chin. The second part, I'm not blaming Nathan Frazier, because he needs a tight hold of that scorpion death drop, but I want you to see this. Right there. Your head is kind of a little bit, you're arched, and your head's a little bit lower than your body as you bump. Right there. So it's not the heaviest bump in the world, but see how he's holding on to him? Right there. He's still trying to tuck him in, so it might not have been hitting your head, hitting anything like that at the back of your head, or spiking yourself like you would on the DDT, which, by the way, his partner did spike himself the way I talked about on the pre-show. I think it's more of like he's locked into this dragon sleeper, into the scorpion death drop. Also, man, you know what could have happened here? His partner could have broke his hand, because it's right under his back, it looks like. Oh, man. I see the pain in his face right there. Now, Nathan Frazier has no idea what's going on. So he's picking him up, putting him in the corner, putting him on the top. And even I can see that he wasn't quite right. Right here. And when he got up, his mouth was bleeding too, right? So he...
Yeah, from that shooting star.
Yeah, I saw that. But to me, it was almost like, too, I thought he might have got his lip busted open because, look, right here, Nathan Frazier has him tight. But when he falls back, is his arm, his bicep, on top of his mouth to where Elton Prince cannot tuck his chin. And he gets just all the weight down on him right there.
Yeah, he didn't kick out either, of course. This
Count
is one
three,
of the
referee.
many infamous
Count
not
three.
kickouts, yeah.
Count. Didn't this referee do this before? This particular one?
I think they're all guilty of it mostly.
What do we say? This goes way back to wrestling school, but it's so beat into us that you need to count to three. If we do not kick out, it is our fault. So now potentially what happens? Okay, now if Elton Prince, I'm not blaming anybody here. I am a little bit blaming the referee for not seeing if he's hurt or maybe he's afraid to say something because he's leaning into Nathan Frazier and saying something right here. Look at Nathan Frazier listening. He might have said, man, I'm hurt. Something, I don't know. But if he's neck or he can't feel his arms, because look at his left arm just dangling down there. He's still selling with the right, but it's hard to see or say. But if he said anything to the effect of my neck, I can't feel my hands or my neck, or I feel like I hurt my neck, and then he gets forearmed, that's not the right call. And then trying to pick him up, look, he's dead weight right there. Are his legs? Is he feeling the same thing in his legs? And look. Oh my goodness. Yeah, tag in, man. And just falls over. There's got to be a point too, and I know maybe it's just like he didn't know how hurt he was until afterwards he thought he got a stinger. But man, there's so many times in all companies, and we're talking about WWE too, where they basically just keep going no matter what. And it's just like, I don't know. I understand sometimes your adrenaline and all that stuff, but this guy literally said, I felt a bolt of electricity go through my body. My hands couldn't function. That's a neck injury. That's a stinger. That's a potential concussion. You run the risk of not only you getting injured further, but everybody around you getting hurt as well. I hate to say, because the kid, I want to reach out to him. I don't want to get him heat. But you got to say, it's like Bruce said, guess what he just said? All the shows run together as the same. So you'll have another opportunity. And I know this kid's probably like, man, this is the only time I'm going to have an opportunity. We're getting a push. We're on SmackDown. We got a match here against Fraxium. Let's make the most out of it. But it's not worth it. And I've been there. Hey, they're going to fire me. They're going to release me. And they keep throwing me Heidenreich. What can I do? And you had reached that point. But I'm telling you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're going to be okay. I hope so. But if those extra, even seconds, if not the extra minute or two of you trying to be positioned and do spots and everything could have made possibly from the one bump a 1 level fusion to a 2 level. Guess what? I did it too. I'm guilty. So don't listen to me.
I've got a quote from Kit Wilson he wrote a few days ago. While trying to figure out what was wrong, Elton took another move that cut him open badly. At the time, I didn't know how serious it was, but I knew he was hurt. I was screaming at him to tag me in so he could get out and get medical help. Even then, he, Elton, was determined to stay in the ring and finish the match. That's just the kind of performer he is. So that goes exactly to your mentality in your 20s compared to in your 50s, I guess, that I don't know if it's proving your toughness or, finishing your commitments or not when to, what is it?
Well, I mean, you obviously, number one, you want to finish it. You know that everybody's toughing through injuries at some level or another, not to this level, but it's kind of like football. You want to be there for your team. You want to be there for the roster. You want to be there. You want to be available. And also, and I've had this on me too, probably rightfully so, but the circumstances could say it was pretty much Heidenreich, not me or Chris Masters. But I got a label of injury prone. So guess what happens if you're injury prone and you're not available? Less opportunities. They don't give you the ball. And maybe that's what he's thinking. I'm very interested. Do you know if these two guys were trained in an old school wrestling school where we were trained to finish the match no matter how hurt we were? And that was instilled in them before they got to NXT or the Performance Center before that.
That I don't know. They're both English. And they both debuted in 2015. So
they were wrestling for a long time before they got to NXT.
Yeah, they were 5 years on the independent circuit, NXT UK in 2020, then regular NXT in 2022.
So they were instilled with the same thing I was in 1991. No matter how you're already hurt, you might as well finish the match. And that's been driven into us. I think in 2015, that's when they started wrestling, but they were training before that. So it could be 2013, 14 or whatever. That's very much in the era of still wrestling school saying, this is what you got to do. You got to tough it out. We're going to run you till you throw up. We're going to do this. We're going to bump you out and make you condition your body. That's been instilled. Hey, I can appreciate that kind of, how can I say, work ethic, but I can also tell you the work ethic is a bunch of BS when it comes to that. Guilty.
Just to ask you,
guilty right here. Guilty.
Just to ask you this, how would Sting do it? Because I don't remember him injuring anybody. Would he just loosen up at the last second?
He would come down flat. He would do this, and when he would come down, sometimes he would keep it hooked, but most times with the Scorpion Death Drop, when you fall back, it's like the Stevie T. I double underhook, we go up, and when you go up, I let go of that hand so you can bring that hand in front, and then this hand stays on your back. It's a split second. Guess what? It's still, sometimes even done right, it can rock the back of your head no matter what. Because Sting has like 20-inch arms. So even if he lets go, they're still a part of that. The Scorpion Death Drop is not an easy move to perform without like giving someone, making them see stars, ringing their bell. So Sting's a pro to be able to do that without hurting anybody.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you'll say, once again, best of luck, Elton Prince, in recovery.
Actually, you know what? You can tell people, Elton, that Stevie Richards did reach out to me, and you told me to go F myself so you can score some points with The Office. How's that?
Yeah, good for you. There you go. We're going to do the outro now. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next Friday, as we always are. Fresh clips every single day on the YouTube channel, and a fresh episode every single Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK. Now, it's British summertime, and then there's GMT, and I can never remember which one's which. It changes with the daylight savings time, and I can never remember which one's which.
Well,
anyway,
the thing is,
UK
no
time.
matter what, the clips will be out before Grand Theft Auto 6. You can be guaranteed.
I used that line on my mother 2 days ago. Obviously, she didn't know what I was talking about, but I thought it made sense to me.
Makes me laugh.
Right, so everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you again next week. And over to Stevie to thank the Cameo supporters.
Well, I want to thank everybody who supports us, especially here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, clicking the bell to get notified, and of course, interacting with our community by commenting. Yeah, we want to thank everybody for the Cameo video request, cameo.com/Stevie Richards. Also, Patreon, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Show notes, watch along every Monday morning. You can go rewatch the Maxine Dupree, Becky Lynch might be in our watch along as early as a week or two from now. And of course, the pre-show, the show before the show, every Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time here in the States. I want to thank everybody. $1 brother tier, $8 thank you. No, $8 producer. Thank you, brother, on the $1. And yes, for everybody asking, I'm still heavily considering, I'm doing beta testing of the virtual pro wrestling school tier on Patreon. Please check that out. But thank you so much for watching episode 80 of the Stevie Richards Show. Definitely a lot of fun to talk about Roddy Piper. We're going to do it again. Catch us next week, episode 81 of the Stevie Richards Show. Where are we going to talk about, the nature boy himself, Ric Flair, career retrospective?
Yeah, I just heard a little. I thought you stubbed your toe.
It was actually more raspy than Bret Hart somehow. Aha! See you next week, everybody. Woo.